What's up, everybody? It's Aviana Nori, and I'm officially back on YouTube. Yes! Now, to kick things off, I'm starting off with a brand new sim series called Welcome to Freeville. This is where we're going to build a whole little world together. And trust me, it's going to have plenty of personality. And what better way to start off right here in Del Sol Valley with our very first build, an apartment called the Oplex. Now, Freeville isn't just going to be another Sims town. It's going to be our little community. Every build adds to the story, of course, and you're gonna get to help me. So I wanna see y'all in the comments. Let me know what y'all wanna see, whether it's shops, hangout spots. Feel free to drop them suggestions down below. Now, right here, y'all just saw me go ahead and get the shell started. I already put the stairs down and a nice little stairway. I'm working on the roofing, and this actually was not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Now, I did break this build up. I did not do this build all at once. Of course, I did do this build in chunks so that I didn't overstrain myself. You're gonna see me here adding the trim, and then I do change the color of the roof as well. I also end up adding some darker concrete in the walkway area right there also to make everything a little bit more cohesive. Now, this vibe is definitely more urban. Think grungy, realistic inspired. It's not going to be polished luxury. It's going to be very much lived in. Okay, we here. So this is me plotting out where I want the windows and stuff to be, and I'm also going to go ahead and activate a couple cheats. The main cheats that I use for this build is enable free build, move objects, and I also wanted all of the hidden objects as well. So I showed hidden objects and showed live edit objects also. Moving on, we're going to be figuring out where I want the window placement and door placements to be. So this is what you see me working on right here. Once I get that figured out, I'm going to move on to adding the rest of the windows where I see fit. I did end up removing those windows down there at the bottom. I thought I was going to do something different with that space, and I do end up adding the mailbox and a couple trash cans there. Moving on, I'm just going to figure out the rest of the floor plan for the actual apartment. So I have 2 floors, 3 apartments upstairs and 2 apartments downstairs, with the leasing office being that main apartment up front. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and put some lighting in here so I can kind of see what we're working with. And like I said, we're gonna do the second floor in the next video, so just stay tuned for that. Now I'm going ahead and placing some marker furniture that I do end up sticking with, because I do want this to be, like I said, a more realistic build. So I just finished figuring out where I want to put everything. So I mark out a space for a manager's office as well as a bathroom, and I do keep this area available to the public. The rest of the apartment is resident only. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and start placing a little bit more details here and there. And I'm gonna pretty much do this at the beginning, just start placing some things down just to kind of see where I want things to go, and just start filling the space slowly but surely around that. So you're gonna kind of see me hop around here. Once I kind of finish marking everything out here, I'm gonna move on to working on the bathroom next. So I go ahead, after I find the ottoman that I want to use here, I end up starting the bathroom after this. And one of my favorite parts about this apartment is all the realistic details that I added. So I add things like a water heater. I go in after the fact, which I don't have the footage of, I believe, but I end up adding satellite dishes to the roof. I add carpet to the bedrooms. I add the breaker panels also. If I couldn't get them inside, I put them on the outside. I also ended up adding the air conditioner vent and the air units around the apartment also, that I thought was really cool. And I tried to add stuff that I thought was going to fit into this aesthetic and really make it as realistic as possible, because what I'm thinking about doing once we finish a good chunk of the community, I'm thinking about playing my Rags to Riches series out of Freeville. So just let me know down in the comments below if you think that that would be a good idea, or just let me know, hey, we just want to do a Rags to Riches, the traditional style, and just pick a plot somewhere and just literally start from the ground up. But I thought about doing like a more realistic Rags to Riches this way, because I want to do a more realistic Sims play in general. So I said, let's start with like a nice little starter apartment, you know. Well, it's not going to be luxury. Like I said, we're going for a very lived in aesthetic, very urban-esque vibes, because I'm very much inspired by creators like Hood Sims and D Sims, just to name a few. Definitely heavily inspired this build for sure. And I'm also going to put reference of what I built the shell off of. I'm pretty sure I already showed it on the screen. If I didn't, then I'll probably do it here. But now I'm just figuring out the rest of the floor plan for the rest of the apartments, just blocking out where I want the bathrooms and the bedrooms to be. Now I know to the naked eye that the L apartment definitely looks bigger, and technically it is, but once you kind of start blocking out the rest of the floor plan, it pretty much equals to about the same. However, they do have extra space to accommodate a dining area in the L apartments. So that's kind of a perk that the sim can look forward to if they are the lucky resident of that particular apartment. This is just me just placing the doors and stuff for where I want them to be. And now I am going to move on with the first apartment, and I start with the bathroom in here too. And I do end up making it just a tad bit smaller, because what I don't want is a bunch of unnecessary space. It just makes it, in my opinion, harder to build when you have too much space to work with. And I also don't have like a lot of different packs, so majority of this is bulk base game, but here and there I may utilize some different things. Like I definitely believe some of the windows came from either businesses or hobbies or another pack. Once this build and the first rendition of it is available, the links to the packs that I use will be down in the description below. So once I finish blocking out where I wanted the bathroom to be, I move on to the kitchen, and I do end up moving that window over to the kitchen. I was debating on if I was going to keep it in the bathroom or not, which is why I didn't move it over right away. But once I made my mind up, I do go ahead and move that window over, which is what you see me doing there. And since this is the smaller apartment of the first floor, they don't necessarily have space to accommodate a full like dining table. So what I do is I add those island counters instead. And I did get rid of one of the other standalone counters just to make more room for some type of a functional living room, okay? We're not gonna have it too bare and based down, okay? They have a living room. Now, how fancy the living room ends up being, you know. I end up using these crates to make like a makeshift TV stand, and then I size up one of the cheaper TVs here, as you can see, to make them a little living room. I thought, look, it's the little things for me in this Freeville build that I am going to love. Like, it's the little details for me that just makes it have that extra little personality for me. Now, one thing that I was struggling with was finding a bed, because I just felt like I wanted the bed to be more used, but unfortunately I don't have the type of packs that have that just yet. So I just played around. I opted for this one, and I do end up moving that bed out of the wall here, and you're gonna see me start to try to place clutter around here and there, and that's because I'm just finding stuff as I go. But you're also gonna see me here, I'm kind of struggling to place it because my move objects was still technically not turned on. So I do end up fixing that, and I fix my hotkeys to actually move it up and down, which is what I was struggling with at first, which is why you don't see me initially clutter right away. But after a while, because I do take a break at some point, which I believe I take a break like right here so that I can figure out what was going on with my move objects. And then when we come back, you're going to see basically me showing what I was able to fix once I fixed the move objects cheat and stacked everything the way I wanted it to be stacked. So this is what you see me here doing now. I'm just showing you what I did with the leasing office, and then I end up showing the first bedroom and the first apartment and what I did outside. Also, I did end up adding the mailboxes and a couple trash cans out there, and now we're moving into the second apartment on the first floor, and we're working on the bedroom right now. Again, just trying to make things work, but still give it that urban aesthetic that I'm going for. Really lived in, kind of messy, not perfect is the overall aesthetic that I was going for this apartment. Now, y'all can let me know in the comments, because like I said, this is a pretty big lot and we're trying to build an entire community. So once I was done with this apartment, I was thinking about doing on the other side of the apartment like a little laundromat / cafe kind of vibe, you know? So just let me know in the comments below if that's something y'all would be interested in seeing, or if y'all would want to see something like a corner store or maybe a park or something like that. And I also hold off on doing landscaping in this video too because of that also. So just let me know down in the comments if that's something that you all would be interested in seeing. So this is me just adding a little bit more clutter here and there. I'm adding one of those rugs. I end up adding a magic carpet, and I'll start layering the tarps, the artist tarps in here to kind of make like a mixture for it, because I didn't like how it looked when it was sized up. But like I said earlier, I do end up going back in the bedrooms particularly and adding carpet to those floors as well. This is just me moving those windows around, and then I'm going to start adding the details. Like I said, it's going to be the details for me every single time when it comes to this series. I think it's the details that sell it. I'm adding those dust trails down the wall. You're gonna see me adding some like brick hole patches in the wall also. I end up just doing the entire inside of the apartments, and I end up going outside and I start adding those outside too. And I also believe that's when I finally found the graffiti that I wanted to use, because I had saw that in the neighborhood they also had graffiti on some of the buildings already. So I figured it would be perfect for me to go ahead and add some graffiti to the apartment too. And the leasing office got some dust trails too, don't get me wrong, but they don't have as much. And let me know if you would live in these apartments, which one would you live in? And would you complain about that? Now, keep in mind, these apartments have been here for a while, okay? It's only so much, you know, so, or, you know, did y'all do that? Like, what's the storyline behind this apartment? I just want to see and down in the comments what y'all can come up with. This is me adding that graffiti and just adding more of those dust trails and details on the outside and exterior. And this is pretty much the end of the build, guys. You're just gonna see me adding the rest of those little details here and there and just making sure I like what I am seeing. Just let me know also in the comments below if there's anything you would have done differently or added. And like I said, this is pretty much the end of the video here. I just finished adding those details. I finally moved those file cabinets and that stand there around also. And I did end up finding a sign to put outside, but I was kind of disappointed because I wanted it to be a little bit more ran down and used. So I feel like I'm gonna go back and see if I can add one of those brick patches using move objects to the outdoor apartment sign. With that being said, this is just episode 1 of Welcome to Freeville, and I am so excited to see where we take this next. Like I said, I'll list the packs that I used once the first rendition of the Oplex is ready to download, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next build, and welcome to Freeville, y'all. Bye.